Monday, June 20th edition of the Carolina Weather Video. I'm meteorologist Matthew East here, and we had a pretty unsettled weekend. Some thunderstorms off and on during the course of the weekend, and it actually wound up in many spots not being as hot as it otherwise would have been due to a lot of clouds at times, some of the outflow from some of these big complexes of storms. In fact, many spots, once you got west of the Interstate 95 corridor yesterday, were only in the 80s for highs, and in many instances it was kind of the lower side of the 80s. Really not a bad day at all, but the heat going to become more prevalent here for the next couple of days. We're also going to be looking at fewer thunderstorms overall. Now, with that said, this is what the radar imagery looked like about 2:30 or so, maybe closer to 3 o'clock early this morning. Had a couple complexes of storms there, one close to Morehead City, another one there between Wilson and Goldsboro, and then a little bit later on, this was the radar shot from 3:45 a.m. The first complex moving out to sea, the other one, the second one rather, moving eastward. And we'll watch these storms back here in Tennessee and Kentucky. That'll drop to the southeast, could especially maybe in the southern foothills and southern Piedmont down into South Carolina, enhance the chance of a few storms later today. The big thunderstorm activity is going to be in the high plains states today. Look at all the thunderstorms right now. And it's going to be a pretty decent severe weather threat. I'll show you that in just a moment. There's your temperatures. You're looking at 3 a.m. Eastern Time, 2 a.m. Central Time temperatures greater than 85 degrees in much of Texas, Oklahoma, southern parts of Kansas, 60s and 70s for much of our region overall. And there's the upper air chart for today. Big, powerful upper-level disturbance moving into the Plains state this afternoon. That's going to interact with that hot and unstable air, and the result is a significant severe weather threat today, a moderate risk in eastern Nebraska into Iowa and northwestern Missouri, northeastern Kansas. Tornado threat very real there today. And notice the slight risk does extend down into much of our region. That would be the same kind of deal we've seen the past couple of days. Any of these storms that organize themselves into lines or organized clusters of storms could definitely produce some wind damage and some hail. Now let's check what happens with the upper air chart as the week unfolds. This is tomorrow, ridging overhead, and then later on in the week, although again this time of year you get the main energy well off to our north. Looks like a nice trough. We'll try to dig in later this week, and that's going to give us some thunderstorm chance on a daily basis and shave a few degrees off of our highs. And then it looks like next week the ridging will be out west, and so looks like no extreme heat next week. It's late June, so it's not going to be cool, but looks like the extreme type of heat would probably be in the western part of the country much of next week. Let's go to the GFS today, and again, I think a few isolated thunderstorms are going to be a possibility for us. Highs low to mid-90s in many spots. There's tomorrow evening, again, some isolated storms, a possibility. Highs in the 90s. Wednesday, the next cold front's mainly to our west, so I think there'll be a chance of some storms Wednesday, but the greater coverage will be on the other side of the mountains. And then that front kind of stalls out and meanders around. The GFS is not terribly excited about rain chances on any particular day, but I do think there'll be some scattered storms really on a daily basis. Thursday, Friday, there's Saturday and Sunday on the GFS. So again, just not a whole lot of day-to-day change here. Now the European does have more thunderstorms around over the weekend than the GFS does. So again, I think it's just worth mentioning that chance of scattered thunderstorms. And finally, there's the GFS on Monday, more thunderstorms. Finally, last chart here. European model on the left, GFS on the right, the main ridging in the western part of the country, trough in the east as we get into next week. And again, that's what I was mentioning. I think the core of the heat next week probably largely staying focused in the western half of the country. All right, that is it for today. Thanks for watching. Have a great Monday, and God bless.